following program is brought to you by Cloudcast Media, a podcast leader in developing shows to elevate local brands, local stories, and local storytellers. Cloudcast, bringing ears and minds home.
The San Diego Union Tribune and Retirement Strategies Group present the Union Tribune Community Spotlight Show with your host, Drew Schlossberg.
I'm Drew Schlossberg of the San Diego Union Tribune. It's always cool to have on our friends from the United Way, and we've got the San Diego LGBT Community Center, and of course our friends from the County of San Diego Health and Human Services Agency for another robust show over here. We got Nancy Sasaki. She is the president and CEO of United Way. How you doing there, Nancy?
Hey, Drew. I'm great. How are you?
That's good over here. I was bragging about your sports prowess to
yes.
Charles. She's Nancy. A lot of people don't. Well, I'm not sure if they don't realize it. I didn't realize it. Big sports fan over here. So we'll break. We'll talk about how your favorite teams are doing. We got Rebecca Hookheld. She is the Chief Public Affairs and Civic Engagement Officer for the San Diego LGBT Community Center. How you doing there, Rebecca?
Doing really great. Thanks for having us.
Very, very good over there. How long have you been with the center?
Just celebrating my 6th year.
Congratulations. That sounds good. And Maggie Ramsberger, she's the Chief Agency Operations of Integrated Services for the County of San Diego Health and Human Services. Maggie, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. How long have you been there?
I've been with the county for 18 years.
18 years, but some ways seems like 18 minutes, in some ways 18 decades. Is that about right?
Some days, yes.
It's very good. Nancy, let's start with you. How long have you been at the helm of United Way?
I've been there for 1 year, 2 months, and actually a little over a year.
And you were going to go down to seconds and minutes and all that business here, and we're happy to have you over here. And of course, anybody who knows the great work the United Way of San Diego County does, it's far-reaching. It's meaningful, it's impactful, and it's and Nancy's all about metrics as well in this aspect of it. Talk about the mission of United Way of San Diego County.
The mission of United Way is to serve the community in whatever way is necessary. We like to spark breakthrough community action in order to present a brighter future for children, young adults, and families. And what we do is work in alignment with our partners to set aligned goals, to leverage resources and expertise in order to resolve the inequities that can transform those lives. So it's really exciting to be here with two of our partners in different areas.
Right, and you hit a key word on here. A lot of people talk about it, very few people execute it, and that is collaboration. And we know sometimes that's not easy. You got to have somebody rowing in the same direction and understanding that not everything is going to go hunky-dory in that aspect. But when you find the right partners, as you're talking about right here, it's amazing how 1 + 1 = 10, or in this case, 3 + 3 = 15, and all that aspect of it. Talk to me a little bit about you, Maggie, how your work is done with these groups.
So the County of San Diego really supports a vision for the region, which we call Live Well San Diego, and we want to have all of our residents be healthy, safe, and thriving. And our partnership that we're going to talk about today with the United Way around the Earned Income Tax Credit Coalition really focuses in, it touches on all of those, but particularly the issue of thriving. So how we can better support inclusive economic growth in our region by helping people who are working but maybe need a little extra financial boost, and how we can bring dollars back into the community where they live, work, and play to make a reinvestment here.
Right. So talk about how important that census is and people filling it out and doing it the right way.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Fire away there, Rebecca.
I'm happy to talk about the census. Filling out the census is ever more important. It's done every 10 years. There's a whole host of resources and representation tied to the census, and an undercounting of our hard-to-count communities is really detrimental to us being represented in a couple different ways. And so the center is excited to partner with United Way and our other 150 community partners in order to ensure that all of us are counted and properly represented.
So how does that happen? So what does someone do to make sure that everyone is being counted?
think that's what a lot of the hard work is about.
Right.
When we work with 150 partners, what we're doing is looking at all of the different areas within San Diego and Imperial counties where the hard-to-reach populations are, the hard-to-count populations. We've gotten down to the census tract, and then we identify the partners within those 150 partners that are the trusted messengers. They're the ones that the people in those hard-to-count areas trust to tell them that this is the right thing to do. So they're going to be listening to them, but we set those goals as to how many people are we trying to reach, what are we trying to do, what is the message we're all telling everybody in the community about why it's important to fill out the census, because there's always some hesitation. Like, am I giving too much of my own personal private information away? And yet, if we don't get counted, that will impact the dollars that will help to bring people out of poverty, that will help them to support them in their times of need. And it's things like the food stamps or the SNAP programs. It's things like health care and Medicaid and Medi-Cal. So it's really important that we get this count because it does last for 10 years. So whatever we count in 2020 will last us until 2030, and we know how much growth happens in our community over that time.
Yeah, no, listen, we all know we're in the business of metrics at the Union Tribune, of course, and real metrics, and because we don't deal in fake news, quite obviously. You know, we put out the real stuff in this area. Do you think part of this, Nancy, and then you jump in on this, Maggie, and you too, Rebecca, as well, is as you know, people being a little distrusting because with I just got breached probably 4 billion times between the time the interview started, whether it's been on my cell phone or on my computer, and is this information going to be used to not support me or whatever? Has social media caused some of that?
I think that social media does cause some of that, but we certainly hear about it just because you happen to be online or because you've put your records online, that those kinds of breaches happen. But I think that the trust issues with regard to the census go much deeper. For the communities that are hard to count, there are reasons why they're hard to count. There's reasons why they protect their identity and their information. And so that's why we have to use our trusted partners, the ones that are trusted in the community, to do that outreach, because they're the ones that will be able to convince them that this is the right thing to do, that it will be okay, that their information will be protected. Rebecca, you might add to that.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there are legal protections for the census. It's some of the most highly guarded information.
For sure.
And so we're excited. I know the United Way and all of our partners are excited that the citizen question is not on the census. That's a huge win for our hard-to-count communities because there is fear associated with the census and what actually we're trying to, what is actually being captured. For the LGBT community, there's not an LGBT question. Your sexual orientation or gender identity is deliberately being left off of the census. And so it's ever more important that the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, non-binary, and queer community participate in the census because we are already being underrepresented and we have to participate so that then the center and our partners in our advocacy can ensure that in 2030 that the sexual orientation and gender identity is included.
Right. No, I think that makes all the sense in the world. We're chatting with Rebecca Hookheld. She is the Chief Public Affairs and Civic Engagement Officer for the San Diego LGBT Community Center, joined by Maggie Ramsberger, Chief Agency Operations and Integrative Services Division for Health and Human Services for the county, and Nancy Sasaki, President and CEO of United Way of San Diego County. So in your world, Maggie, obviously you play a big part of touching so many lives here in San Diego County. We know it's critical to do this because unlike when we do the homeless count that one time in January, we always know Father Deacon Jim's always on the show talking about okay, you did this one thing here. You really think there's only 8,100 of us running around? Okay, I get this, but that's at least every year they can make up on it. You guys have every 10 years. How do you just get that word out better? Do you do it through all your media sources at the county?
I just reiterate what Nancy mentioned earlier is the importance of working through all of our regional partners. And I think as a public agency, we recognize the importance of having trusted messengers in the community who have the authenticity and respect of their peers and their neighbors. And so working through those other organizations are important. But of course, the county also is a partner in that. And so we want to make sure that people are aware that the census is coming up, how they participate, and the importance of that to all of us in the entire region.
Right. Is there sort of I always love these when they have these surveys and FAQs, debunking myths about filling the topic, whatever the myth is. You got your name and you can say goodbye to Social Security because we're going to steal everything you have over there. Is there a place where people can say, here's how this is protected? No, you're not going to be losing your identity if we do this. I'll start with you on this.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing that we mostly fight for, is to ensure that filling out the census is going to be a safe process,
right,
and that people's identities are protected. And that's why there was so much that you heard about with regard to the citizenship question.
Right.
We knew that if that was on there, that would deter people from filling it out.
Absolutely.
And so we definitely all worked to make sure that that was not on there. And now we'll have to work to ensure that people understand that it's not on there.
Right.
Because as the people that are going out and encouraging people to fill this out and doing the education and outreach, we can't tell them not to fill it out. We can't tell them not to answer a particular question. So we have to encourage them to the best of our ability to fill that out and understand the reasons why it's so important to our community, to our economy, and to them as individuals.
Yeah, and once you spend, we got about a minute before we go to break on this, Nancy, and we'll talk to Maggie and Rebecca about this too when we come back. Why is it so important to fill out this census accurately? And it ties to money, correct?
It absolutely ties to money. There's $900 billion that the federal government distributes to the states, to the counties, to local households. That is all based on what that count is in the census. That's why whatever we get in 2020 will determine our funding allocations for 10 more years. And that's a lot of money that is necessary for our community to support people that are in need, support people that have a time of crisis, that they have access to the health care that they need, that they have access to the food that they need when they're hungry. And that's all federal dollars that are coming into our community.
Yeah, and we're going to hit on that when we come back from break as well. Also want to talk about, is there a need to have census workers going out there and gathering the census? If you have questions about what am I filling out, is there a number to call to make sure that, I need to fill it out this way? And then just basically, and I do want to save some time to help support each of your organizations individually, what our listeners can do above and beyond the census as well. And we return with Nancy Sasaki, Rebecca Hookheld, and Maggie Ramsberger. I'm Drew Schlossberg at the San Diego Union Tribune. You've been listening to another edition of the Community Spotlight Show here on Cloudcast Media Radio.
Cloudcast 180. Powerful people, powerful stories, 180 seconds.
Welcome to Cloudcast 180. We're here live with Karen Terra, and we've got 3 minutes. Karen, welcome to Cloudcast 180, CEO of Norris Foundation. Karen, let's get right into it. Can you tell our audience all about the Norris family and how E&F started?
Well, it started with a little boy, Emilio Norris, who was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 3 and sadly passed away shortly before his 6th birthday. And in the time that he was sick and battling his disease in the hospital, his parents, Diane and Richard, noticed that there were families who were not able to get to their cancer treatments because they didn't have a car, or the primary parent who worked took the car to work, so they didn't have access to transportation. So they wanted to do something about it, and they started the Millionth Foundation 15 years ago.
So after 15 years, they turned this tremendous loss into a tremendous amount of love for young people here in San Diego suffering from cancer. So just out of curiosity, how many kids actually miss their cancer treatments due to transportation issues?
Over 3,000 children in Southern California miss their cancer treatments because of lack of transportation. In the last 15 years, since we've been providing Ride with Amelia, we have eliminated that problem. Children are no longer missing their cancer treatments in San Diego and Orange County because of lack of transportation.
You've eliminated the problem. That's the goal of every nonprofit organization. That's incredible.
Yes, we serve every child who needs a ride to their cancer treatment. We serve them. We are able to say with confidence that there is no child in San Diego County who is missing his cancer treatment.
Now, you have something really special coming up, I understand. 1 million miles you've driven.
Yes, that will happen early next year in February. We're really excited about that. That's pretty significant. So in the 15 years that we've been in operation, we will have traveled 1 million miles driving children to and from their chemo treatments, their cancer treatments, whatever they need for us to ensure that they will get to their treatments on time every time.
I mean, that's an incredible accomplishment.
how do folks get involved with ENF? And then tell us what's next.
Well, they can come to our website at enfhope.org and find all the information about all of our programs there. And as we mentioned, in February, we're going to be launching our 1 millionth mile campaign. And it's going to be a month-long campaign in March, and starting in February and then in March. And it's going to be concentrating on raising funds to make sure that these children still are able to get to their chemo treatments.
That's incredible. enf.org. Get involved. Turning Loss into Love. Amelia Norris Foundation.
Cloudcast 180. Powerful people, powerful stories, 180 seconds.
The San Diego Union Tribune and Retirement Strategies Group present the Union Tribune Community Spotlight Show with your host, Drew Schlossberg.
I'm Drew Schlossberg of the San Diego Union Tribune, and we are back with Nancy Sasaki. She's the president and CEO, United Way of San Diego County, joined by Rebecca Hookheld. She is the Chief Public Affairs and Civic Engagement Officer for the San Diego LGBT Community Center, and also in the studio with us, Maggie Ramsberger, Chief Agency Operations Integrative Services Division for the County San Diego Health and Human Services, and chatting about the importance of filling out the census and making sure everybody is counted, and that's everybody with a capital E on this. But Maggie, equally important is the Earned Income Tax Credit Coalition. Talk about that.
Well, the Earned Income Tax Credit Coalition is a really wonderful group of over 20 organizations here throughout the region who come together every year to support outreach and access to EITC, which is a tax refund for low to moderate income workers. And so we're proud to partner with the United Way as the leadership team for the Earned Income Tax Credit Coalition. We work every year to come up with a plan, how we can better outreach that to the community, and then work through our valuable community partners to make that happen. And they provide free tax assistance at centers during tax season, and that way people can go in, have reliable tax services free of charge.
And not only is it free of charge, it translates to a lot of money that goes to those households, correct?
Absolutely. Last year we brought back, through the efforts of the coalition, over $47 million to the region, and of that was $15 million in earned income tax credit.
That's great. Rebecca, talk about how that impacts you folks.
You know, the center, the LGBT Community Center is, has been the heart and cornerstone of the community for almost 50 years. Nancy and I were talking about, they're celebrating their centennial. We're almost at 50 years.
Congratulations.
And so, as a health and human service agency, the largest LGBTQ provider, that's essential to our community members, to our families, and it makes all the difference, throughout the year. And, we're excited to continue to educate our community about how they can participate in the Earned Income Tax Credit.
And I'll ask all three of you this. San Diego isn't the most least expensive place to live. We all know that. And so these, tax credits are just so critical. And we all know how, some money goes a long way with families that, struggle to, we know the food insecurity issues that we're having here in this region. Our good friend Jim Floros comes on the show quite a bit to talk about these things. And it's really unfathomable. We just did a big story in the paper, and we had him actually on our radio show before the story broke on food insecurity with college students. Like a huge number of college students go hungry. I think that blows away people that don't realize this. So it is absolutely equally so important for people to get this right and to do it right again. Before we get into the centennial celebration that Nancy's going to be chatting about in a few minutes here, is there a call for more census workers? Are we short? How does that work? Or do we have enough?
We're actually not doing census work, so to speak, in our coalition that we're doing. It's the outreach and education.
Right.
There will be other census workers that are hired by the federal government to actually do the count during that time, but they're also going to have that online.
Right.
So right now, I don't think they need census workers until they get into next year when they're actually starting the count.
But is there a fear there's going to be a shortage of census workers? What do you think? Hard to say. We don't know. Has there ever been a problem?
I don't know that there's ever been a problem in the past to get that. And plus, they're going online, so they're going to hopefully have a broader reach because the census will be taken online for those that are able to access it. But you can also still do it by hand or by paper if you need to do it that way too. It's a little bit of a couple more steps that you have to go through in order to get it by paper.
Sure. How long does it take to fill out the census?
Less than 10 minutes.
Less than 10 minutes. Okay. All right.
So it should be easy.
Should be easy. Right. Exactly. On this. Talk a bit about the centennial.
I'm so excited about that. The centennial is the Diamond anniversary. I can't believe United Way has been in San Diego County since 1920. Been looking back at a lot of the old documents and seeing what's been going on. And in 1920, when the community chest started, we raised $111,000 for our community, which in today's dollar, that equals $1.4 million. So that's quite an accomplishment to start out your first year and raise that kind of money, distribute it back out. And we've always worked in partnerships, and we've always addressed the community needs. So I'm excited to be celebrating our centennial. Each month, we are going to celebrate one of the decades. It will highlight in October on 10/10/2020 with our gala celebration, which I'm hoping will be on a diamond. Because
nice.
It's the diamond celebration.
Okay, very, very good. Here, we'll have to figure out what diamond that is on this. Is it already on the website so people can see what's planned for January, February?
It will be coming on the website soon. It's not there yet.
Okay, so coming soon, all
Yes.
right. And then to get engaged, same thing with the October 10 event as well?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. And, that'll be a lot of fun over here. The Union Tribune has been a long supporter of the United Way, especially with the tradition with the Copley family and so forth down the road over here. I actually was the United Way chair here for the Union Tribune. To raise money, we actually had a Kissing the Pig contest. Oh, yeah. No, trust
How
me.
fun.
It wasn't until the pig bit me. It did.
Oh, no.
I was out there trying to, scratch it, and we didn't like that. And then it bit me. But that's okay. The pig didn't know what he was doing over here. But no, in all
But you
seriousness,
still raised money for United Way in the community.
Of course, we raised money and awareness, which is equally important. 50 years for you folks, right, Rebecca?
Yeah, coming right around the corner. We're extraordinarily excited to have been in the community so long, being such a cornerstone and leader of the service provider, and so we're excited to celebrate our 50.
Do you have stuff already planned? Is it on the website?
It is in the works. We are chomping at the bit to get excited or to get going on that. And so, we were chatting, or Nancy and I were chatting earlier, just how important these types of monumental celebrations are for our community and our respective organizations.
Well, it's all about information and sharing the right information. That we're in that business, of course, the Union Tribune Multimedia, a company in this. One of the things that sort of disheartens us is when you hear from people, I'm sure in your businesses too, God, I wish I would have known about X. I mean, you fill in the topic over here, and that's why you got great agencies like Katina Daniels out there working to get the word out as well and work in partnership here. But we all need to do that. We're in information overload. We know that. You get 14 billion messages. Which one is the right message to do it? And all three of your organizations, that's so important. We are chatting again with Nancy Sasaki. She's the president and CEO of United Way of San Diego County, joined by Rebecca Hochheld, Chief Public Affairs and Civic Engagement Officer for the San Diego LGBT Community Center, and Maggie Ramsberger, Chief Agency Operations Integrative Services for the County of San Diego Health and Human Services. So Maggie, what can our listeners do? I mean, people usually go, how can listeners help support a government agency? They can they not?
Well, absolutely. And, specific to supporting the work of the EITC Coalition, we're approaching tax season. One of our great partners in the coalition is 211 San Diego. That's
great.
And so folks...
John Ohanian.
Absolutely. John and his team over there help us every year to get the word out and to help people schedule appointments and get information about how they can benefit from the work of the coalition. So folks who are interested can call 211. They can also go online to www.myfreetaxes.org and get more information about that. Great opportunity.
So how do we do as a region, Maggie, our county versus other ones that might look like us in terms of getting the tax credit information out and supporting groups like Rebecca's and so forth? We do a pretty good job.
I think we do a great job, but we can always do a better job.
Right.
So the more people that can get involved and help us with that, the better outcomes. We want to make sure that everybody who can access this important benefit does so. And so just like the census, we want to get the information out about EITC and other tax credits that people can access when they file their taxes next year.
Absolutely, Nancy.
Yeah, we're really excited about the work that we do with the ITC. We reached 33,000 households last year, or earlier in the tax year of this year. But we know that there's close to 200,000 households that could benefit. So
Right.
we need to expand this type of work that we're doing. We work with 650 volunteers already through our 20 partners. But people that are making less than $55,000 a year don't realize they need to file their taxes. So we want to get this word out to them to come and it's free. We'll actually do this tax prep for you. We'll actually do all of the filing and everything. And then you learn right then and there how much money you'll get back from the earned income tax credits. And that can average somewhere around $2,000 per household.
Yeah, and we know how far that can go over there. I'm going to go around each person and just share your website in case our listeners want to get in and engage and support everything that you are doing, whether it's the income tax credits or whether it's the centennials. And both of you, we'll start with you, Rebecca. What's your website?
Absolutely. You can find us at thecentersd.org.
Very, very good, Nancy.
uwsd.org.
Okay, and Maggie?
sdcounty.gov.
Well, I want to thank all you folks for coming in. You're doing understatement of the world here, just unbelievably important work for all of the folks who live in San Diego County, but especially those maybe underrepresented organizations. And we know it's so critical. We know when you give back to especially groups that may not have a voice or as strong a voice as they should, it comes back and helps you 15 times over. So Nancy and Rebecca and Maggie, thank you so much for giving some time to come on our show. And Nancy, we're going to talk more sports at our next show. Maybe we'll just do a sports show. Just
there you go. I'm up
unity.
for it.
All right, very, very good. Wishing you all a great weekend. Thank you for your great support.
Thank you. Thanks.
I'm Drew Schlossberg of the San Diego Union Tribune. You've been listening to another episode of the Spotlight Show here on Podcast Media Radio. We are brought to you by the Retirement Strategies Group.
Thank you for listening to a podcast from Cloudcast Media, the digital media home for leading local brands. When it comes to amplifying your brand, a Cloudcast-sponsored show offers unbeatable value. Learn more at cloudcast.us.
Cloudcast 180. Powerful people, powerful stories, 180 seconds.
Welcome to Cloudcast 180, the 3-minute lightning round with changemakers here in San Diego. We're here with Ed Heiner, 20-year Navy SEAL, best-selling author, and education entrepreneur. Ed, welcome to the Cloudcast 180.
Thanks for having me.
Your book was called First Fast Fearless, so let's hit this fast and fearlessly. Real quick, you created a program to help change lives of high school students around the country. It's called SEALpreneurship. Tell our audience what it's all about.
Well, it's about leading yourself. Getting a PhD in me, I teach kids how to take care of themselves and lead themselves first, and how to be their own intrapreneur, if you will.
Is it something you think public education is lacking, this concept of self-leadership?
Absolutely. It's a mindset that kids don't get. My son doesn't get it in his school. The kids don't get it. It's something that, we're educating them, but to be mentally tough and be able to take charge of themselves and accountable for themselves is very unique.
Okay. I've seen an overview of your curriculum, 23 evolutions, and you have a 23-minute podcast series. So what's up with 23?
Chromosomes, right? It's all in all of us. We're all the same. 99.9% of everybody in this world is the same. And we use those chromosomes, 23 pairs, which was one of the concepts we teach as swim buddies, never be alone. Mm-hmm. Always work with someone else, collaborate, and be out there.
Bro, that's a lesson for life for sure. Ed, you were in charge of basic and advanced training for the U.S. Navy SEALs, and I mentioned you're a 20-year SEAL. Tell our audience the greatest lesson from the SEALs that have changed you forever.
Probably in the back of a helicopter one night in Iraq before I was getting ready to fly into an Al-Qaeda target, it dawned on me that when a pilot said, you have this many souls on board, it dawned on me that the opposite of fear is love. It's not else. I don't fight for what I hate in front of me. I fight for what's beside me, behind me, that I love.
Wow, it's a powerful concept. Wow. You've talked a lot about the blue-collar scholar as a concept. Fascinating. Tell our audience, what is the blue-collar scholar as it relates to your SEALpreneurship program?
It's a mental concept where people take control, don't outsource their life. Look, we're going to have people that are in white coats, suits and ties, doctors, PhDs. That's fine. Listen to that. and learn your information from them. But eventually, you got to be that mechanic in your own life. You got to turn the wrench. This is happening. So basically, take control of your own life. Use what you can use from other people. Discard it. What you can't, and make that your own. Leadership is something that you do. It's you do with people, not to them. And one of the best forms of leadership I learned in the back of that helicopter is called MOM.
Ed,
Focus on mission, others, me.
Mission, others, me. Ed, thank you for being here. This has been the Cloudcast 180. We hit it fast and fearlessly. We're out.
Cloudcast 180. Powerful people, powerful stories, 180 seconds.